Hey, what's up you guys? It's your girl Iman here to do a recent read of Golden Age Batman Omnibus Volume 1, and I'm gonna talk shortly about the stories covered in it and share some of my thoughts. So stay tuned for that. Little side note before I start talking about the book. A couple of months ago I bought a new apartment, and because of me traveling around a lot this summer I decided to rent out the apartment, and currently I'm staying in my childhood home visiting my mom. So the reason for me telling you all this is because the background you're seeing right now isn't going to be the normal background. As soon as I get my setup right and I move back home, the background is going to change. So I just wanted to inform you of that if you're wondering what this ugly setup is. And now onto the important stuff. This is the Golden Age Batman Omnibus Volume 1, and there's currently 5 volumes out in this series. And this book contains the reprints of the issues in which Batman has his origin story and his first appearance, starting with Detective Comics issue 27. So here you have the front. All the Golden Age DC omnibuses follow this similar theme with the beige color covering the front with art relevant to the story in the middle. Here's Batman watching over his city with the original suit on. Here's the spine. And then the back. So this collects the Bob Kane and Bill Finger era of Batman, and it's nice that this book credits them both as creators. Along with Bill Finger, we have stories written by Gardner Fox and Whitney Ellsworth, with art by Bob Kane, Sheldon Moldoff, Jerry Robinson, and George Russos. And the book collects Detective Comics 27 to 56, Batman 1 to 7, New York's World's Fair Comics 2, World's Best Comics 1, World's Finest Comics 2 to 3. And it also includes a foreword by writer and editor Denny O'Neil. Through the years there has been numerous reprints of this era of Batman in different formats, but in my opinion this is by far one of the best collected editions of the series you'll find out there. Right off the bat, the first issue starts off with a murder, and while in conversation with Bruce Wayne, Commissioner Gordon gets a phone call informing him that a man named Lambert has been killed and that Lambert's son's fingerprints are found all over the weapon. Commissioner Gordon goes over to the crime scene and Bruce Wayne tags along. At the crime scene, the Commissioner talks to Lambert's son, who states that he was rushing to his father's aid and was taken out a knife from his body, and that's why his fingerprints were found all over the weapon. An investigation ensues, and Bruce Wayne, being privy to all this information, gets the Batman involved. Many of these beginning issues of Detective Comics, we see a lot of cases with crime done by normal people. Early on we don't see a lot of the grandiose villains that we've come to know. So for instance, in one of the beginning issues he deals with a jewelry thief gang, and he goes on a mission to get the gang's leader Frenchie to confess to his crimes. So there's nothing grand or extravagant happening in some of the first issues, as I said. Very basic, very low-key crimes. So let's look at the art inside and I'll give you a short overview of the content. Let's open the book up. Right away we get to this index which covers the titles of all the issues in the book. Nice and neat and easy to quickly get to what you want. Now at first these issues weren't named when they originally came out. This is something that's been added later on. So here we have it. Issue 27 of Detective Comics, in which we get the first ever appearance of the greatest detective known to man, the Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, the best hero of all time, the Batman. what I noticed, and I don't know if it's just me, but these artists seem to be real fond of the green outfits. Seriously, like every issue, there is a person either wearing a green suit or a type of green clothing. Like, no joke. Maybe green was the hip color back then, I don't know. Or maybe it's just me. But I saw it popping up everywhere. Anyway, many of these stories I read as a kid via other collected editions such as Batman Archives. One of my closest friends growing up, whose father read a lot of comics and who was actually the one who introduced me to the world, collected these copies, and I used to read them. And I vividly remember liking them a lot. It was my introduction to Batman. So here we get to issue 31 of Detective Comics, and the series takes a dive into the supernatural, dealing with vampires and werewolves. Here we also meet Julie Madison, who's Bruce Wayne's fiancée. Following an attempted murder she tries under the influence of a trance, Bruce takes her to a therapist who suggests that they go on a vacation as a remedy. The couple travel to Hungary, and while on the voyage, Julie undergoes another one of the trances, and the culprit is found to be a masked figure named the Monk, who is later revealed to be a vampire. So this issue was fun to read. It was becoming a bit more different with the supernatural elements. It was not that action-packed, but it was nice. A lot of the stories in this book was super fun to read. I mean, judging it fairly, most of them were a little tame, but we know a lot of these plots are retold many times during the course of Batman's history, and the versions in this book are quite watered down. In the back of my mind, knowing what the future holds for this character, it was a thrilling read nonetheless. And being a super fan of Batman, it was fun reading about his origin. It was interesting tapping into the relationship between Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne as well, and just getting to know their dynamic. Here we got Detective Comics issue 36, which features the first ever appearance of Professor Hugo Strange, who's this deranged but highly intelligent criminal scientist. This issue was a real treat to read, you guys. Hugo is one of those villains who throughout the years pops up in numerous story arcs, and he's got this massive obsession with Batman, which makes it like super fun to read about him and his different antics. And then we come to issue 38 with the debut of Robin, the Boy Wonder. This is where it all starts, where Batman makes the very grown-up decision to have a 13-year-old little boy trained in the art of crime fighting. So here we get introduced to Robin, who we see become orphaned when his parents are killed by the gangster boss Anthony Zuko. Batman takes him in, starts training him, and the sidekick is born. And here we have it, you guys, the quintessential story, Batman issue number 1. We get the first appearances of characters like the Cat, also known as Catwoman. The Joker debuts here. Martha and Thomas Wayne show up in flashbacks. I mean, you get everything in this book. We get the famous background story of how Bruce Wayne got to being Bruce Wayne, and later on becoming the Batman. And if you're seeing this video, I highly, highly doubt you don't know the story, so I won't bore you with the details, but this was by far the best read of the book. I mean, you can't go wrong with the origin story, the one that started it all. I mean, as you can expect, the art isn't that great. It's very basic and it's not very detailed. But over the 2 years that these issues span, you notice the drawings become more professional and sophisticated. And it's fun following. We get some Joker moments. classic laughing Joker right here. Moving on to issue 40, we get Clayface. This was a fun little read, a bit weird, a bit different. So what we get here is a hurt actor, Basil Carlo, who's just found out that there's going to be a remake of one of his movies. There's going to be a different lead actor, and he doesn't like this information, so he takes up the name of the movie's villain, Clayface, and starts terrorizing his former cast and crew. Batman and Robin have to stop him. There were some aspects, though, of these issues that weren't as enjoyable. One of them was the disorienting feel I got by reading some of these panels. A couple of times I found the order in which they were placed confusing. And that in combination with the heavy text that's in this book, the hurried manner in which some of the action was presented, made it hard to follow at times. But with that said, it was still an enjoyable read. I do want to give this book a lot of praise, as we get to see some of comics' most iconic characters, heroes and villains alike, for the very first time. And we get it all compact in this easy to read, action-packed, nicely reprinted format. Let me know if you want me to make a recent read on the other volumes in this series. That's it for me. Peace.